We have all been there before. You craft what you think is the absolute perfect text message, hit send, and immediately set your phone down face up on the desk. 2 minutes pass, so you tap the screen just to check if the notification missed your sound. 10 minutes pass, and you double check your Wi-Fi connection to make sure the message actually went through. 2 hours later, you are staring at a completely blank lock screen, replay analyzing every single word you typed and wondering where everything went completely sideways. That heavy, frustrating silence on the other end is not just an accident. It is a clear sign that your message completely flatlined on impact. The reality of modern communication is brutally simple, because your texting style never sits in a neutral middle ground. Every single text you send is actively working for you or working against you, either building massive intrigue that makes her hyper-engaged or signaling low value that completely shuts her down. When you send needy, predictable, or plain boring messages, you instantly wipe out any natural chemistry you had going. She sees your name pop up on her screen and feels zero urge to reply, letting your message drift down her inbox until it is completely forgotten. You become just another notification in a sea of uninspiring chatter, completely stripping away the fun, excitement, and anticipation that dynamic texting is supposed to create. Flipping the script requires taking a hard, honest look at your current habits and completely overhauling how you operate behind the screen. If you are constantly sitting in that second category, watching conversations wither away and feeling like you are pulling teeth just to get a basic reply, it is time to throw out the old playbook. You need to stop overthinking, stop double texting, and cut out every single piece of useless conversational fluff that is dragging your interactions down. By mastering a few direct, highly effective strategies, you can completely transform your messages from ignored notifications into irresistible conversations that keep her genuinely interested, eager to reply, and constantly wondering what you are going to say next. Hack 1. Build mystery. At its core, attraction thrives on curiosity and anticipation, which is why women naturally love a genuine challenge. If you give away every single piece of information about yourself right out of the gate, you completely kill the spark of the unknown before it even gets a chance to catch fire. Laying out your whole life story, your daily routine, and every inner thought in standard text dumps removes any reason for her to stay curious. Being an absolute open book is fantastic when you are sitting on a couch talking to a therapist, but when you are texting a girl you like, spilling everything at once instantly flattens the excitement. You want to intentionally drip feed your personality over time, revealing who you are piece by piece, rather than dumping your whole story into her inbox in one massive wave. The secret is to give her just enough information to spark her imagination without immediately giving away the conclusion. Instead of sending a plain, oversharing text that breaks down every single detail of your afternoon, hit her with something focused and intriguing, like, "I just thought of something you said last week, and it's been on my mind ever since." The moment that notification hits her screen, the dynamic completely shifts. Her mind immediately starts racing with questions. She starts retracing your past conversations, wondering which specific moment stood out to you, why it stuck in your head, and what you actually think about it. You have created an instant spike of curiosity and positive suspense, all without relying on cheap psychological tricks or manipulative mind games. To master this mindset, you have to start viewing your texting interactions as a compelling story told in separate, engaging chapters, rather than a single, massive information dump. Each text you send should feel like the turn of a page, giving her a taste of what is happening while naturally leaving her eager to find out what comes next. When you stop rushing to explain every single detail and start holding back just enough to keep things interesting, you stop being predictable and start becoming memorable. Keeping a little bit of mystery in your back pocket ensures she stays active and invested in the conversation, constantly leaning in to see what you are going to reveal next. Hack 2. Use scarcity to create desire. The absolute biggest mistake guys make when texting a girl they like is making themselves available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The moment you start dropping everything you are doing just to reply within 2 seconds of her sending a message, you send a clear signal that you have nothing else going on in your life. That kind of instant availability radiates desperate energy, and total predictability is the fastest way to kill attraction. It is a simple rule of human nature. When something is constantly accessible without any effort, it completely loses its value. If she knows she can pull out her phone at any given second and get your undivided attention on command, the excitement of hearing from you vanishes entirely. This is not about playing manipulative mind games, calculating precise response timers, or ghosting her to the point where she gets annoyed and moves on. It is about actually living a life that keeps you engaged, busy, and focused on your own path. You should reply to her texts when you are genuinely free to do so, not while you are mid-set at the gym, in the middle of a work project, or hanging out with your friends. When you hold off on texting back until after you have handled your business, you show that you are a high-value guy with real boundaries and clear priorities. Hitting her back after a few hours with a calm, effortless text like, "Just wrapped up at the gym, what's up?" completely flips the dynamic of the conversation. That gap in time builds natural anticipation, giving her room to wonder what you are up to, and making the actual interaction far more rewarding when it finally happens. It subtly proves that while you are interested in talking to her, your world does not revolve entirely around your phone screen. By building a life focused on your own goals, hobbies, and ambitions, your time naturally becomes scarce. And that scarcity is what creates genuine desire. Hack 3. Flirt with confidence. Playing it completely safe is the fastest express lane straight into the friend zone. When you bombard her with dry, routine check-ins like, "How was your day?" or "What are you up to?" on constant repeat, you blend right into the background noise of every other guy in her notifications. Those kinds of lazy, predictable messages demand zero effort, create zero emotion, and force her to carry the entire weight of making the conversation interesting. If you want to stand out, you have to actively bring energy, sharp humor, and bold confidence to the screen every single time you chat. To see the massive difference this makes, just look at how two completely different approaches land. Option A. "Hey, what's up?" Option B. "I just saw someone who looked like your future boyfriend. Almost stopped him, but figured you weren't ready for that yet." Option A is instantly forgettable, giving her absolutely nothing to work with and practically begging for a dry one-word response. Option B, on the other hand, immediately changes the whole atmosphere of the text exchange. It is playful, cheeky, and undeniably confident because it pushes the boundary without coming across as aggressive or pushy. By teasing her with a lighthearted joke, you instantly set a romantic, playful tone instead of acting like a platonic buddy. It establishes undeniable chemistry while keeping the vibe fun, relaxed, and entirely low pressure. Flirting with confidence is ultimately about enjoying the dynamic and trusting your own personality without constantly second-guessing every word you type. The moment you stop worrying about sending the perfect, safe text and start leaning into bold, playful banter, the energy becomes infectious. When you are genuinely having a great time leading the conversation, teasing her lightly, and showing that you are comfortable in your own skin, she will naturally mirror that excitement and lock into the interaction. Hack 4. Keep the vibe light and fun. Texting is meant to be an enjoyable escape, not a heavy interrogation or a dry corporate email exchange. The average person spends all day wading through dull work emails, transactional updates, and boring notifications. So the absolute last thing she wants is to open her personal messages and face an exhausting line of questioning. When you turn a text conversation into an interview, asking heavy questions about deep personal issues or badgering her about her schedule right off the bat, you create unnecessary friction and turn talking to you into a chore. Your text should always feel like a fun, welcome break from her busy routine, giving her a quick burst of positive energy every time your name pops up on her phone screen. The easiest way to shift this dynamic is to immediately throw out those robotic check-ins and replace them with engaging, playful prompts that spark instant banter. Instead of asking a dead-end question, try dropping a lighthearted hook like, "If I told you a ridiculous joke right now, would you laugh or judge me?" A message like that completely resets the room because it breaks the boring pattern of standard small talk. It creates immediate curiosity, makes her smile, and invites a fun, zero-pressure reply. You can also keep the momentum going by leaning on shared humor, sending a funny meme that relates to a previous conversation, or dropping a short, random observation about something ridiculous you just noticed in your day. The core objective here is to keep the overarching tone light, easygoing, and genuinely entertaining, so that reaching for her phone to reply feels completely effortless. You want her to associate your messages with feeling good, laughing, and kicking back after a long day. That said, staying fun does not mean you have to act like a nonsensical clown 24/7. True conversational skill comes from striking a balance. Maintain a light, energetic vibe for the vast majority of your texts, but stay grounded enough to hold a normal, meaningful conversation when a real, serious topic comes up naturally. Keeping things playful builds the spark, and knowing when to dial it back shows you have the emotional intelligence to match her wavelength. Hack 5. Be unpredictable. The quickest way to make someone lose interest in a conversation is to become completely predictable. When your texting habits follow a rigid, repetitive formula, like sending the exact same good morning text at 8 a.m. or only reaching out late at night, talking to you starts to feel like a routine chore rather than an exciting interaction. Human attention naturally drifts away from anything that feels automatic and repetitive. If she can guess your exact schedule, your response time, and the exact tone of your text before she even unlocks her phone, the spark disappears. Breaking your standard patterns is what keeps the interaction feeling alive, dynamic, and genuinely engaging. Switching things up requires zero games. It is simply about staying spontaneous and keeping the rhythm fresh. If your conversations usually happen late in the evening, break the mold by throwing out a quick, thoughtful note during the middle of your day. Just past that sushi spot, thinking about how you almost convinced me raw fish was a good idea. A simple, out-of-the-blue message like that works because it connects back to a shared memory, shows you have a life moving around you, and breaks up the monotony of her daily grind without demanding a heavy response. It hits her screen unexpectedly, creating a sudden, positive shift in her day. You should also mix up the actual medium you use to communicate, instead of relying exclusively on typed text essays. If you have a quick, funny story to tell, skip the massive wall of text and drop a 15-second voice note with great energy instead. If you walk past something completely ridiculous or funny on the street, snap a quick photo, add a witty caption, and send it over. Constantly altering your format and timing keeps her on her toes, making her wonder how you will lead the conversation next. When you eliminate predictability, every notification from you becomes a pleasant surprise, keeping her naturally invested in seeing what comes next. Hack 6. Always end on a high note. The ultimate golden rule of successful texting is knowing precisely when to bow out, while the energy is still at its absolute peak. Far too many guys make the fatal mistake of dragging a great conversation out until both people completely run out of things to say, letting the banter slowly fizzle into dry, awkward, single-word replies. When you stay in a text exchange until it naturally dies of boredom, you leave her with a final impression of fatigue rather than excitement. Instead of milking every single moment until the interaction feels completely exhausted, you want to train yourself to intentionally wrap things up right when the chemistry is flowing, the laughs are happening, and the vibe is at an all-time high. Stepping away at the high point leaves a powerful, lasting impression and creates immediate anticipation for the next time you reach out. When the back and forth exchange is going amazing, take total control of the dynamic and execute an intentional exit strategy. Drop a confident, smooth exit line like, "I've got to run and handle a few things, but we definitely need to pick this up later." Alternatively, you can tap into her natural sense of curiosity by dropping a playful teaser right before you sign off. "There's something else I was going to ask you, but it's going to have to wait until tomorrow." That single move flips the script entirely, leaving her with an unfinished thought that keeps her mind lingering on you long after you have put your phone down. By voluntarily stepping back while the interaction is red hot, you tap into a fundamental psychological trigger. People naturally crave what feels slightly incomplete. Instead of leaving her feeling burnt out by a bloated 4-hour text marathon that drifted into useless small talk, you leave her wishing the conversation had lasted just a little bit longer. She closes her screen feeling energized, intrigued, and genuinely excited for the next time your name pops up on her phone screen. Mastering the art of the clean, confident exit guarantees that every single conversation ends on a massive high note, keeping her consistently hooked and always eager for the next chapter.